Hey, what's going on everybody? RogersBase here, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably already aware of this by now, but if you are not, let me fill you in. Oricon has officially released their list for the top 30 best-selling manga series in Japan in 2016. There's a lot of information here, and I really want to go over specifically the top 10 on this list and sort of what their placements mean and what this could mean for the future of the manga industry moving into 2017. Now, if you haven't already seen For Neverworld's video on this list, I would actually highly recommend you go and watch that. He goes over all of the top 30, and he knows pretty much all of these series, and that's the main reason why I didn't want to do a top 30 is because I don't really know a lot of the series that are from like place 11 down to place 30. I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of them, I've heard the names, but I can't talk about them really in depth, and I figured it would just be better to talk about the top 10. And most of these series I've discussed at some point on my channel, so I know there's a big fan base for a lot of the ones that are in the top 10. And again, I'm familiar with these series, and I could talk about them and sort of analyze what their placements on this list mean. I actually wanted to do this video yesterday, but as many of you guys probably already saw, I was at the Game Awards last night. It was a ton of fun. I got to see Bill Trinan and Reggie and Kit over at Nintendo Minute, and I got to see all my Smash Brothers buddies, D1 and Hungry Box. It was amazing, but that's off topic. Let's get back on topic. Let's talk about the top 10 best-selling manga series of 2016. Now, I'm going to go from the bottom up. We're going to be talking about 10th place, moving our way up to 1st place. And the 10th place this year, selling 3,477,000 copies, Food Wars, Shokugeki no Souma. Now, I've discussed this on my previous live streams. I love Food Wars. It is a series I'm absolutely in love with, and I would not have known about Food Wars had it not been for you guys. All of you guys are recommending it to me. They were like, there's hot girls, there's food, you like both those things, Roger, you should read Food Wars. And I started to read it, I got really into the anime, I enjoyed it. As most of you know, I actually did reviews of the second season of the anime, but I dropped the reviews just for a bunch of reasons. One, they weren't getting views. Two, a lot of people in the fan base didn't like that I was doing reviews because I wasn't familiar with the series already. And I'm like, no, I like Food Wars too much to worry about whether or not people like my reviews of this series. So I just ended up like catching up with it on my own, and I think it's an amazing series, right? I love Food Wars. I love the characters within Food Wars, and I think the arc that's currently going on in the manga is very interesting, and I also think the anime's second season really helped to push manga volumes. I think the second season of the anime, now having gone back and rewatched it on my own time, I think was fantastic. I think they really knocked the Stagiaire arc, and they also knocked the it's not the summer festival. I'm thinking of My Hero Academia, which is also on this list. But the what's it called? The autumn election arc. The autumn election arc. So went over both of those during the second season of the anime. Again, I thought the second season of the anime was great. I think a lot of people probably felt the same way and were like me. They wanted to know more information. They wanted to catch up with Food Wars, and they ended up buying the manga volumes because of that. So really cool to see Food Wars in 10th place. Again, it's a series that I love. It is near and dear to my heart, and eventually I might start doing Food Wars videos again, but for the time being, I'm just happy to see that it's doing well in Japan, and I think that placement is probably going to hold steady for next year because, one, I don't think a third season of the anime is currently announced. If they do announce it, it might happen at the beginning of next year. I think that's actually what they did for the second season this year, is I think they announced it in like February of 2016 and then it released in summer. So who knows? If we get a third season of Food Wars, maybe that'll end up happening sometime next summer, and then we get the announcement in like January or February. I do think it is a very popular series, though. Obviously, it's a Shonen Jump series. A lot of people like it. And yeah, Food Wars, good to see it in the top 10. Number 9, no huge surprise. Actually, the big surprise here is that this isn't placed higher. One Punch Man, coming in at 3,979,000 volumes sold. One Punch Man obviously didn't have an anime this year. We had the Toonami release, the dub of the anime here in North America. That wouldn't have affected manga sales in Japan. The anime officially ended in Japan at the very tail end of last year, moving into the beginning of this year. So I think probably the anime did push it. I think a lot more people found out about One Punch Man due to the anime, but maybe the placement this year is a little bit lower just because of the fact that the anime wasn't ongoing throughout the course of this year. That was something that was more of like a 2015 kind of thing. So because of that, I do think that next year, One Punch Man's placement's probably going to make top 5. That's going to be my prediction going into 2017, is I think One Punch Man is going to end up in the top 5 and probably end up with around like 5 million or 6 million volumes sold. What does it take to get into the top 5 this year? 6 million. So it'll probably be at 6 million next year. Again, we're getting a second season of the anime. I think a lot of the material that is going to be used for the second season of the anime is great. I haven't really, again, talked about this on my channel in a while, but I am completely caught up to the One Punch Man manga, both the nicely illustrated version that you get in the manga volumes, and also One's version, the online webcomic. I'm caught up to both. I love it. You guys know I love One Punch Man. I did full-on reviews of the last anime season. I'm planning on doing reviews of the second season. And again, I do think that the anime probably helped to get more people interested in it, but I think the reason it's a little bit lower in the top 10 this year is due to the fact that there was an anime ongoing throughout the course of the year. So, number 9, One Punch Man. Number 8, Tokyo Ghoul Re with 4,278 volumes sold. Now, 278,000 volumes sold. Let me rephrase that. Tokyo Ghoul, here's the thing about it, right? Tokyo Ghoul, I have heard very mixed things about, or at least the Re series, I've heard very mixed things about from friends of mine who are fans of the series. For me, I'm only familiar with the anime. I've never really caught up to the manga. I kind of know what happens in the manga just because I like watching other YouTubers' videos on it. I'm just interested. So if For Neverworld or Chibi or King of Lightning, they do a video on it, then I'm going to go watch their video on it regardless. So I do kind of know certain things that are going to happen in the series, but I have not been reading it. My favorite moment is still, counting backwards with the fingers, oh my god, from the from the anime. I loved it. But again, that was the first series. This is the continuation. This is Tokyo Ghoul Re, and 4 million copies is decent. I think if there isn't more anime next year of Tokyo Ghoul, this will probably hold steady. Actually, I could probably see Tokyo Ghoul dropping a little bit, maybe going into the 9th place that One Punch Man was. Actually, I could maybe even see One Punch Man and Tokyo Ghoul reversing next year if One Punch Man doesn't end up in the top 5. I kind of feel though, one of the top 5 is going to drop. I feel if any of these are going to drop lower, it would probably be the 6th place, so I'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, Tokyo Ghoul, 8th place, really cool stuff there. Place number 7.
Favorite manga series? My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Boku no Hero. They call me Academia.
My Hero Academia. I know a lot of you guys are probably still salty that I dropped the weekly reviews of the series. Don't worry, I am going to find a way to try to make more My Hero Academia content in the future. I explained why I dropped reviews though a while ago. And I also think that one of the reasons, not the main reason, I won't say that. One of the reasons why I sort of temporarily dropped my coverage of the series is I wasn't really feeling the last story arc of My Hero Academia. And considering the fact that that would have been what is in the manga volumes this year, I think maybe that would have hurt sales. Because I see that My Hero Academia is getting very, very popular. People love what's going on. I heard the last 2 chapters, by the way, that I didn't review are amazing and some of the best that it's ever been. So I'm kind of upset that I stopped doing reviews, but regardless, My Hero Academia clocks in at slot 7 with 5,114,000 copies sold. I do think the anime helped in this case. I think the anime definitely helped. It obviously is doing better than it did last year because there was no anime. Anime definitely helped push it up. I think the anime next year, since we're getting a second season, is probably going to push this even further. And I actually think that the source material for the next season of the anime, which is I think that is the summer festival thing. I think it's the summer festival moving into the Stain arc, if I remember correctly, if I'm remembering my read-throughs correctly. And I do think that will make for an awesome anime season. I think that's going to get even more people invested in this series. Honestly, I just think My Hero Academia has nowhere to go but up at this point. I could see My Hero Academia also ending up in top 5 next year. Just due to the fact that now more people know about it, they're getting into the manga, there will be a second season of the anime, more people will get into it then, they'll catch up with it, and if they do end up doing the Stain arc justice, I think it's just going to blow up even more. And I do think that Shonen Jump is really going to be pushing this series moving forward, because really, what else do they have left, right? Naruto's done. Boruto is kind of whatever at this point. A lot of the fans who were huge hardcore fans of Naruto aren't really even following that. Bleach ended. So many Shonen Jump series ended. One in particular that is very high in this list just ended. It's shocking that that series was canceled, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But yeah, My Hero Academia, I think Shonen Jump is really going to push it. They want this to be the next Naruto or the next Bleach. They want this to stand alongside One Piece. And I do believe that moving forward into next year, it will have a higher placement. But again, I didn't think the story arc in the manga this year was all that great. Obviously, the stuff that I was catching up with was incredible, but I do think that the primary story arc of the past 4 months just hasn't been that interesting. And I think this would have been higher had that story arc been better and the manga volumes would have released. Though, now that I'm thinking about it, the manga volumes for that story arc probably aren't even released yet in Japan, so who knows? Ignore what I just said. Regardless, My Hero Academia is going to do even better next year, and I'm really very, very happy to see it in the top 10. Now, number 6, 7 Deadly Sins. I am just now getting into the series. I am very late on the Nanatsu no Taizai hype train. This is at 6th place with 5,115,000 manga volumes sold. This I am not surprised about. I know a lot of people are huge fans of this series, and I know just I've been behind on it, but this is something that I mentioned earlier, is this is the one series of all the series on this that are still like ongoing. Obviously, one of them that's on this list isn't still ongoing, and we'll talk about that. But I could see Seven Deadly Sins sort of slipping, not really slipping, but sort of like staying in the bottom half. I was going to say slipping, but then I'm thinking about my rearrangement of how I think this is going to go down next year, and I think 6 might actually be the right placement for it. But I still think Seven Deadly Sins is very popular. No huge shock. I know a lot of you guys out there love it. I've heard it's very good right now. Again, I'm not caught up with the manga, but I've heard it's good. I've never heard bad things about that series, honestly. And it is one of the big pushes of the competitor, manga. I was going to say the competitor magazine of Shonen Jump. So I do think that moving forward, it's going to do well. But I think it's probably just going to hold steady going into next year. Number 5. Haikyuu, basically the volleyball manga. I think this is where a lot of people who liked Kuroko no Basket ended up moving off to. And Haikyuu sold 6,474,000 copies this year. That is a lot of sports manga. And this is probably the series I am least familiar with on this list. Well, that's sort of like tied with Seven Deadly Sins. Difference is, I've read some of Seven Deadly Sins. I haven't read any of Haikyuu. But I'm not really a sports manga person. For those of you guys who are sports manga people, you probably know this is like the #1 sports manga right now, so no huge shock to see it this high in the list. And sports manga are popular. It's just not really my cup of tea, but I'm not shocked to see it in the top 10. Now we're getting into the big 4. All right. The big 4. This is where stuff is going to shake up, because this is going to be way different moving into next year. Number 4, selling 6,544,000 manga volumes in Japan this year. Attack on Titan Shingeki no Kyojin. Now, if you have been watching my manga reviews and my coverage of Attack on Titan this year, you know the series is at an all-time high right now. The current story arc, the plot developments, the things we're finding out about the world of Juan Maria and all the other characters in Attack on Titan, it is amazing right now. And the fact that it is doing this well, that it's in the top 4 without an anime, and a lot of people have sort of died down their hype on this series because of the people versus people arc in the manga. They didn't really enjoy that. So a lot of the hype for Attack on Titan went down. I expected a slip into the bottom half of the top 10 with no anime and a lot of the hype with the manga gone, despite some of the amazing things that are happening monthly in the manga. However, that is not the case. It held steady at 4th place with over 6 million copies. Now, here's the thing. This is my big prediction for next year. I think Attack on Titan is going to bump to the 2nd or potentially #1 spot next year. I think if anything on this list is going to dethrone what has been #1 for years, and I think you guys probably already know what that's going to be, but we'll talk about it when we get there. If anything is going to dethrone #1, it is going to be Attack on Titan Shingeki no Kyojin, because the anime is coming back next year. That's going to bring a lot more people in. The manga, again, the storyline is at an all-time high right now. It's phenomenal. We're getting story revelations and deaths every single month. It's huge. The art looks beautiful in the manga. There are like crazy theories that are being confirmed every single month now. It's great. You guys know I love Attack on Titan. No huge shock. Very happy to see it in the top 4. Again, I think going into next year, especially with one of the top 3 now being canceled, I have a feeling this is guaranteed for top 3 next year. Could even go as high as #1. Here's the huge shock, though. Here's a massive shock. One of the 2 massive shocks of the top 3. This top 3 is crazy. One of the weirdest top 3s of any year in recent memory. I've been watching Fornever's videos on the rankings, I think, since I was in college. So, like 3 years ago, or 3 years ago, whatever. So, I mean, I am very familiar with how this rundown should go in the top 3. This looks very different. All right. Number 3. Without an anime, selling 6,595,000 copies. Kingdom. Now, you guys know, I'm doing a Kingdom read-through. That's something that's still happening. I'm planning it. It's going to be awesome. I am currently catching up to Kingdom in the manga to prep for the read-through. Oh my god, Kingdom. Kingdom. I cannot believe I slept on this series for so long, and I think it just goes to show the quality of the series, having this in the top 3 without an anime. That many people are so invested in the story of Kingdom that they are actually buying the manga volumes month after month after month without having any other tie anywhere, just the manga. That is incredibly impressive. I think if the story is great next year, it could probably hold a spot in the top 3. I think that is a very dedicated fan base. The fan base is only growing even bigger now. I feel like a lot of people are just now starting to do Kingdom reviews and Kingdom live reactions because it was something that was popular before, but a lot of the other bigger series were still around. Naruto was still around. Bleach was still around. That's not the case this year. You know, things are being shaken up. And I can actually see Kingdom probably staying where it is. I don't think it's going to move higher than top 3. I think it'll probably remain number 3 next year, and then number 1 and number 2 will be whatever number 1 is, and then probably Attack on Titan. Those will probably be the top 3 next year. But to be honest, I feel like if anything on this list bumps up really high, I think My Hero could potentially bump in to that top 3, maybe knocking out Kingdom if the third season of the... No, it's the second season of the anime. Yeah, second season of the anime of My Hero. I'm thinking third season. I'm confusing my anime and I'm confusing my manga right now. Excuse me. I've been talking a long time. I get some water. Hold on. There we go. If the second season of the anime of My Hero is very successful, I do think it could end up in Kingdom's slot. I could maybe see Kingdom sliding if there isn't an anime and nothing else to tie it through, or I could sort of see this thing where there's a resurgence of a lot of content creators and a lot of people who are very vocal about the manga and anime community going, oh my god, you need to check out Kingdom. That gets more people into it, even in Japan, because I mean, it's like those of us who make videos, there are still people in Japan who do YouTube videos who talk about manga. Might not be as prevalent as it is in North America and some of the other areas of the world, but it still exists. So I do think that with a lot more people getting into Kingdom, now that those other series have sort of died off, I do think that this will probably be something that we're going to see in the top 5 for years to come. So Kingdom, number 3, very cool. This is probably the biggest shock on this list for me, this next one. Number 2, we're getting near the ending. Number 2, 6,887,000 copies sold, Assassination Classroom. Assassination Classroom apparently ended very well. I know a lot of people who read that series. I don't read it personally. It was a popular Shonen Jump series. It ended well, but it ended this year. It was canceled. It's done. It's over. No more Assassination Classroom. Shonen Jump canceled their second most popular series based on these manga sales. I don't know if they just didn't see the manga sales and they didn't realize that this many people were invested in Assassination Classroom. But number 2 with 6,887,000 copies. And they canceled the series. Shonen Jump. What's going on there? Obviously, they're going to try to push My Hero Academia going forward. I've talked about that ad nauseum in this video already, but Assassination Classroom, what the heck? Huge surprise. Did not see that coming. I know it ended. I know a lot of people were excited to see how it ended. But with Shonen Jump canceling it, I did not expect to see it in the top... I didn't even expect to see it in the top 10, to be honest. Let alone top 5, let alone top 2. Number 2 is Assassination Classroom. Crazy stuff there. Congratulations to the mangaka of Assassination Classroom, but also I'm sorry because your series is over. I guess let's just look forward to what he does next. And number 1, no huge surprise here. Number 1 for I think like 5 years run. It's been number 1 for a very, very long time. For as long as I've been following these manga charts. Number 1, One Piece. One Piece with a whopping 12,314,000 manga volumes sold. That is in Japan alone, mind you. One Piece is gargantuan. Again, I feel like, no pun intended, the Titan on One Piece's back right now, Attack on Titan, it could sneak up on it with the new anime season. I think the new anime season and the stuff that's going on in the manga right now could potentially push Attack on Titan to bump One Piece out. But that's going to be a pretty big jump because Attack on Titan this year sold 6,544,000. They would need to pretty much double that to topple One Piece. And I think with the anime they could. At the very least, I do think it's going to end up in top 3. I think top 3 next year is probably going to look like... I think top 3 is going to be My Hero. I'm looking at this list right now. My Hero, and then Titan and One Piece sort of fighting it out for number 1. And I do think One Piece will probably come out on top. It depends. I don't know. It depends. I want to see what the people who read the manga volumes of One Piece who don't actively read it week over week over week, I want to know what they're going to think of the Whole Cake Island arc, because a lot of you guys know my opinions on the beginning of this arc. I did not think that the Whole Cake Island arc in the manga of One Piece was very strong, and I think a lot of people coming off of Dressrosa this year, the main content in the manga volumes in Japan was Zou. I think Zou is one of the best arcs of the New World. No huge surprise that people are really invested in it. Oh, excuse me. My screen just died. I had to like make sure that my computer didn't go to sleep. But anyway, I think the Zou arc was phenomenal. I think a lot of people probably are really enjoying that arc, reading it in their manga volumes as opposed to reading it weekly. And I don't know if really the hook is going to be there for them to continue reading into the Whole Cake Island arc if they don't like the first volume of the Whole Cake Island arc, which was just released in Japan, sold very well, but I don't know, I'm curious to see what the sales of the next volume are going to be, because that moves into a lot more of the interesting stuff going on Whole Cake Island, like the Vin Smokes and meeting more of Big Mom's, subordinates and some of the other commanders and some of the other members of her family, and obviously the big Luffy Sanji moment that I won't spoil for those of you guys who might not read the manga, but rest assured there's a really big Sanji Luffy moment that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about. So I don't know. I think it could hold its place, but if Attack on Titan is reaching its climax next year and there's an anime, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Regardless, that is a huge mountain to climb, and I think One Piece just like standing on the top, literally by double number two. Double number two. That's crazy. So, guys, that is the top 10 best-selling manga for this year. Sorry, this is kind of a long video. It's like 21 minutes long, but hopefully you enjoyed it. If you want to sort of leave your thoughts on any of the top 10 best-selling manga series on this list down below, I highly suggest that you do that. I will be reading through all the comments and taking suggestions on sort of which of these series you'd like me to do future read-throughs for and all that fun stuff. So, like this video if you liked anything I had to say. Please be sure to subscribe because I do reviews of One Piece, Attack on Titan. I'll be doing anime reviews for My Hero and One Punch Man moving into next year, and the Attack on Titan anime. I do Pokemon stuff, Nintendo videos, lots of cool stuff is coming up through the pipeline over the course of the next year. It's going to be a really, really cool year for RogersBase. So, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!